Again, welcome to Shopsmith Mark IV 7520, live episode number 4. Today I'm going to talk about my new molding head and show you how it works and how I like it. And so, but before I get into my new molding head, I want to talk a little bit about the history on molding on the Shopsmith machines. And the very first machines, when Shopsmith was owned by Magna, okay, this is what the box is that the molding head came in. And it's called the Magna Molder. And this happens to be one that I bought online, and it was still new in the box. And so let's see what comes inside of it. It comes with the molding head and an Allen's wrench to go with it. And so on the original one by Magna, this was what it looked like, and it had the 3 ball bearings, one here, here, and here, used to seat the knives. And then this Allen's wrench was used then to tighten the ball bearings into the knives. And the original one had a hole right down here with an Allen's so that you could put this directly on the shaft of your Shopsmith. You didn't have to have a adapter to put it on there. You didn't have to have the 5/8 inch adapter to mount it like we do on the current ones. And the machine back then, the real early machines, they didn't have any dust collection either under or over it. So that's why they would just mount it directly on there. And then the knives, they would mount in here. The knives that Shopsmith sold when they were selling molding knives would fit this original head. And the head that followed it, that Shopsmith put out, used the same size knives. So over here on the wall here, this is where I have my cabinet where I keep my molding knives, and I've got them organized here. I've got a little chart which tells what they are, and this one's missing because I've got it mounted on the Mark IV over there, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. But I'll take this set of knives here and show you how they're mounted. The principle is the same on this one, and it is the same on the one that Shopsmith made, and also the one that Corob Cutters makes today. The mounting method is the same. So what we do when you mount these, we got these 3 knives. They always come in sets of 3. And you see the ball bearing fell out. You want to hold it so the ball bearing goes down inside the hole. And then mount the knife here. And this edge over here will be flush against the body of the head itself. So it won't be over here, it'll be over here. Okay. So then that ball bearing then fits exactly in the hole and will seat it perfectly. Okay. And once you get it there, then take it the short one and tighten it down. Okay. And so that one is seated. And then you'll repeat the same process for the other 3 knives around the edge there. So I'm going to take this off and put it back in the case. And that's the same process I used for the 2 heads that I have mounted. I have the Shopsmith produced 3 3/4 inch molding head on my Mark IV mounted, and on my Mark VII I've got the new 5 3/4 inch head the Corob Cutters makes for that one, and that one is massive. Its weight alone is 2.5 times what this one is. And those of you who have used these, the 3 3/4 one is heavy enough holding it in your hand by itself. I'll put these back in here. I'm going to close that up. And we'll put this back in the box. Okay, now a bit of information about the knives themselves. The knife that you just saw me mount in this one, and which also is the same for the Shopsmith produced ones, they're 1/8 inch thick, those knives are. Shopsmith discontinued carrying and selling those heads and knives it's been at least 6-7 years ago. But Corob Cutters, who made that for Shopsmith, still makes one today. And theirs is, that's what this one is here. This is the Corob Cutter one. And you'll see, it'll say right on the side here, it says, if you can read that, it says Corob.
Can't read it, but.
Can you read that there?
Hold still. Yeah, now they can see it.
Okay, it says Corob, it'll say right on the side. On the Shopsmith produced one, instead of saying Corob, it'll say Shopsmith on there. So Corob put the Shopsmith name on the ones that they produced for Shopsmith. Also, you'll notice that the Corob one does not have that hole in the center to mount it directly on the shaft of your machine. You have to have you've got to have somebody online tell me what the name of the device is that I've got a mental lapse here.
It's like a chuck.
It's not called a chuck. Just a minute. Let me see if I can find one. I've got them all in use right now, so I can't show people. Well,
anyway, you have to have something to attach it. You'll think of it later.
I'll do it up here on the Mark IV. What do you guys online can tell me? All right. I forgot what this thing's called right here, okay? But you gotta have one of those to put on your Mark IV or on your Mark VII. And even on the Mark Vs, if you can have a dust collection with, you gotta have it on there. So you gotta have the 5/8 inch
connector of some sort.
Adapter on here to mount it correctly. So I'm gonna put this back now. So I'll just leave it up for now. Okay, so this one on here with his knives on it, this is the Shopsmith produced one.
You can stay there.
And of course you can see right there, it says the word shop. Can you read that? Shopsmith?
There we go.
Okay. So that says the word Shopsmith on it. And you notice this one here.
Pea shooter, someone wrote.
Pea shoot. This one has the hole in the center, so that you can mount it directly on the shaft, the arbor of your machine as well. So the Shopsmith one had it as well. Alrighty. And also you'll notice that on here it says, do not exceed 4,000 RPM. It says right on the side of it. And the Corob one says the same thing, not to exceed 4,000 RPM. Now, some of you are looking at my Mark IV and say, Steve, how come you don't have the dust collector? How come you don't have the lower saw guard mounted on your Mark IV? There's a reason for that. I only owned one lower saw guard. And right now I have it on the Mark VII. Okay? It's rare that I'm having both machines set up for the same type of operation where I need a lower saw guard. So it'll work just fine without a lower saw guard. I'll just have a little bit of dust on the floor. Okay. So now I'm going to show you, I've shown you the current Corob one. I've shown you the original Shopsmith Magna one. I've shown you the one that Shopsmith produced. Now I'm going to show you the Corob 5 3/4 inch one that will work great on your Mark 7. But you have to have 2 horsepower or greater. That's what it's designed for. These particular heads are massive, both in weight and size, and the angular momentum and rotational energy for them is about 5.5 times what it is for the one that Shopsmith used to have on their machines. So that's why you gotta have 2 horsepower or greater. So that means if you're going to use this particular head, you want to have 240 volt on your Mark 7, so you get the 2 horsepower of the power that you need to run that. Raise this up. Move this over. And if you could get at an angle over here so they can see this from the side, so they can see how big it is.
Okay. Get in here somewhere. Without running into your equipment.
So you can see how much bigger that is. And to give you some difference in size, just stay there a minute, Dottie.
I'm getting a better angle. There we go.
The comparison is about similar to the difference between your small and your large faceplate when you're doing bowls, okay? That's the kind of difference we're talking about in size between the 2 of them. So this one is really heavy. You almost need 2 hands to pick it up. At least at my age, you do at age 73. So, okay. So what I've done is on here, of course you see I have the lower saw guard monitor with this one. Now one thing I noticed here with this particular head is this edge of the knife is exactly flush with the edge of this spring that goes up and down. But when it's in operation, this is going to be down here anyway, so it won't be in the way. All right. So I've got the lower saw guard mounted on this one, and I'm going to position. So when we position this over here, you want to eyeball it down from the top. Your positioning so that you can have your knives come down evenly spaced in that space that's in there. So it won't be all the way against your motor like you're used to having with your table saw. It's going to have to be away from there. Okay, about right here. Okay. And now I'm going to get that centered as much as I can. Right there. Okay, and now we'll lock that carriage. Now, one thing I noticed right away between this larger one and the regular size one over here on the Mark IV is, on this Mark IV, or you may have the Mark V 520, either way, I can lower this table. I can lower it all the way down to the motor, and with it spinning, the knives will not hit either one of the edges of this, okay? But on the larger one, the 5 3/4, that's not true. If you put your table all the way down, and I've got stop collars on here so it can't go down that far, but on this one, right now, it's fairly close to here. If I were to drop this table all the way down to here, this knife would cut into this edge of the opening. Okay, so you need to make sure, don't ever put it down that far, because you're going to have some metal flying if you do that. So just double check before you turn your machine on. Make sure it turns clean, clears everything before you turn it on if you use this larger one. Okay. I'm going to lock everything back down here. I'll do my 5-step safety check, 7-step. The motor's locked, the quill is locked, my trunnion is locked, my carriage is locked, my table height is locked, the machine's firmly on the ground, and I've got nothing on here. So I've done that on this machine, so I'm going to do the same thing over on this one. So this one here, motor's locked, quill's locked, trunnion, table height, carriage is not locked. So I'll do that right now. And that turns freely. Okay, there's nothing over here. This is firmly on the ground. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what speed you should be running this at. So on your information that's in both a Power Tool Woodworking for Everyone, which I've got right here, there's a chapter in here on molding. It's on page 65. And in here they say to run it, if you're doing hardwood, they say run it on Q, which is 3250, or run it on R if you're softwood at 3500. So that's what this recommends. And that's just for, of course, the smaller one, the 3 3/4 inch one. If you have this chart, okay, which Shopsmith puts out, this chart is the speeds that are loaded internally to the Mark VII version 1 with on the electronics. And this on here says for molding, and it says hard for everything, it says 3600. Okay, now if you go over on here on the version 2 to go into the pre-built-in ones, let's go over and see what it does. When we should all be able to read that. Okay, so if you're going to do the molding, and if you do for the menu, you would go into table saw here, and you'd stick molder. And now I'm going to do hardwood, and I'll tell you why. If I do hardwood and general sawing, it'll give me 4,000 RPM, and 4,000 is the maximum you're supposed to run any of these heads at. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. Now, if I go back, now if I were to have picked softwood, it won't matter which one I pick, it's going to be over 4,000. So you can't do that with any of these heads. See?
It's dangerous.
So if we do hardwood, see if I do anything other than gentle sawing, it's still going to be above 4,000. And same thing, it'll still be above 4,000. So I don't know why Shopsmith has programmed it that way, but I'm just telling you, don't run these above 4,000. It says right on it not to do it. And I did run my new one at 4,400, and it was loud, and there was some vibration that I didn't like. So you're better off running this at 4,000 or below. So two ways you can do this. You can do it from the menu doing hardwood general, or the other option is you can put some presets in your favorites like I did here, and I've got a 4,100 and 40,000 already in my favorites, so that when I'm doing this I can just go into my favorites and do the 4,000. Okay, so let's go back. Actually, I'm just gonna leave that there for now. And so we're done with this part. So let's put the legs back down where they were.
Okay.
So earlier today, I ran this piece of pine, okay?
Let me get there.
I ran this piece of pine on one side. On both of these, I did on this machine, the Mark IV, running it at 3,600 RPM, okay? And then on this side, I ran these on this machine, running at 4,000 RPM, all right? And I mean, they're just super smooth. I mean, and these knives, I did not touch them up. I took them straight out of the package. I didn't sharpen them. I didn't do anything. So they really do come super sharp from Corob when you get them. And the cutters themselves, I've got over here on the table. They come in packages like this, sets of 3, okay?
Something's wrong.
So I have every cutter size made that'll fit the Corob heads. Okay, I've got an entire set. So these are what the sets look like when you get them. Okay, but as I said, when they come, they are super sharp right out of the box. In fact, they give you with your head a warning here that says, the molding knives are extremely sharp. You should wear protective gloves when loading the knives into the head. And I've cut myself at times. So that's wise advice doing that. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I've got another piece of pine here, and which I'm going to do the same cut I did earlier on both of these machines. And some of you worry about, doing your depth of cut gradually down to it. And I've done it both ways. I've done it gradually going down to it, and I've done it with a full depth of cut, and I get just as good results either way. And so I have both of these set for full depth cut, and you'll see me do that on each of them. So first I'm going to do it on Mark IV, and I've got that already set at R, 3600 RPM. Some of you are used to winding your dial up and down. If you have a dedicated 20 amp circuit to your machine, you don't have to do that, and which I do. So I don't ever pop any breakers doing that. So, and then again on my Mark VII, I've got that one set up on 240, so I have the full 2 horsepower on that one. All right, so I'm gonna get my safety glasses, I'm gonna get my headphones, hook up the dust collection, and we're gonna get started. Of course, I'll have dust collection on this Mark VII. I won't have it on the Mark IV. Okay, I'll just have a little bit more dust on that one. So I don't need that. So for those of you who are watching live, if you would just on the chat, if you would just put your first name and what city and state you're from, that just gives me an idea of where people are from. Same thing if you're watching this later and comment. Also, please put just your first name and city and state that you're from. That helps me get to know you better. So, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, put them on here too.
Also, today on this particular live session, you may have seen me on some earlier ones. Sometimes I have ear canceling, noise canceling headphones on, and also other times I will have a mic on here, which has noise canceling on it. I'm not doing any of that today. I'm doing it straight off of the speaker, off of my tablet, so you can hear the full sound of the machines themselves and not have them muffled.
You have 2 people signed in.
Okay.
Oh, pea shooter is someone's name. It's not the name of the device. Spindle adapter is the name of the part. I got that wrong the first time.
Okay, I'm going to set my featherboard here.
James from Framingham and Kevin from Coldwater, Michigan, and pea shooter is the name of the first guy.
Okay.
All right.
Double checking everything again. Okay, we're ready. Take my watch off.
Oh, I'll take it. I don't leave it down here.
Okay.
Okay, whatever. Looks like you forgot to lock down your red things.
Well, no. This board is a little wider than the other one was. So I've got these as far that way as they'll go. So
they force those things to move.
That's why it forced them to move.
Okay.
Okay, so that's this one.
Wow, it's pretty.
Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing over here on this one. And I think I will just flip it over like so it's on that side.
You want me to turn on the air thingy?
Yeah, you go ahead and turn that on.
You can smell the wood burning. Oh, you
Okay.
turn this way. Okay.
So that's this one. Now, one thing you may have noticed is on this one how much longer it took it to slow down and get to stop. And that's because of the increased weight that you have on that, and it's going to take longer for that one to slow down. All right, now somebody may say, well, what's the advantage of using one over the other, the larger one over the smaller one?
Show them the back when you just did.
So that's this side. That's the one I just did there. And that's one I did there. They look about the same to me.
This one has a slight more burn on it, but not much. But yeah, it's very pretty.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this off
I think
here.
it only burnt where the knots are in the
Yeah.
wood.
So I think if I slowed that down from 4,000, I wouldn't I could actually smell a little bit of burning when I went through the knots on that. So if I'd have slowed it down, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But I don't see any visible burning on the cut itself. So
Only
up here, I want to
down in deep where the knots are is the only place there's any burning.
So over here, I want to show you the difference between the two heads. So as I said, the larger one has 5.5 times greater angular momentum and rotational energy. Also what that translates into is this is the larger one, this is the smaller one, okay? So when you do a pass, this blue area is the area where the cutters actually take off stock, okay? And you can see that's the area. When you do the larger one, the red area, you see how much larger area it is? So this larger one actually is taking off more stock per distance as you run that through.
So the space between the lines is what it takes off?
No.
Well, just where the lines are themselves. Well, they don't know. I don't know.
So this area here, this is the area that's cut on the. So I had a piece of wood that's running through here. Okay. The length of the cut is going to be this long on the bigger one. The length of the cut on the shorter one will be this long. Okay, so this one's going to take off more stock, and so I can feed it faster if you want to, or you're just going to you're going to get if you've got some highly figured wood, you're going to get a cleaner cut with the larger diameter one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some cross cuts to see how these work, how they compare doing a cross cut. So for that, we're going to need to take the fence off on both of these.
You got a comment here. This is unrelated question, but have you heard that it disappeared?
Then go to chat, Scott.
Have you heard that Technato Tool has filed for bankruptcy? Shopsmith Pro uses, and it disappeared again.
That's correct. What he's referring to is that there's two different companies, Technitool USA and there's Technitool International. Okay, they both have the Technitool. They both have the same ownership. Technitool USA is the one that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The Shopsmith is not produced by Technitool USA. The electronics on it is done by Technitool International. And Shopsmith posted an explanation of that on their website just recently. So if you go to their website, you can read about it. So there's no danger of Shopsmith not being able to get the electronics. It's just the USA component company that is having some difficulties financially. Okay, so let's take this off. Take the fence off. Actually, I don't need to take it off. I'm just going to slide it out of the way over here. In fact, I'll just do it like that, I think.
Do you know if...
Go ahead.
I'm trying to... Wait, it disappears. I don't know where to get it back in.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. No, that's not it. I don't know how to get the question to show up again.
It's the chats is what you want to look at.
Where do I find it? Where do I push on to make it come back?
Well, I have to come over there and look.
Okay. It said, do you know if, and then it disappeared. It doesn't stay on the screen.
Well, let me look.
Okay. Okay. It showed up over here. Do you know if, and then it disappeared.
Well, let's see. Let me see where I go to do that. Just a second. No, that's not it. Let's see. No, that's not it. Let's go down here. Nope, that's not what I want. I'm not quite sure. Let me go on my phone here. If I go on my phone, I could probably pull it up and read the comments there. So I'm going to do that right now.
Is there some way to pause this so they don't have to wait?
No,
do you know if this impacts Shopsmith? Thanks. I'll look into that statement for you. You already answered the question. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we got it.
All right. Great.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so now let's move this one over here. I'm going to get my miter gauge, and we'll do a cross cut. See how that looks. Okay, take this, do this here, do this, we'll see how it looks on a cross cut. smooth on a cross cut. So, see right in here, these are all cross cuts. And that is really...
And even over here on this...
Yeah, well, this is crossing
I know,
over.
but still, it looks like really pretty. Makes a neat design.
This creates a hatch pattern when we do that there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so if you were, like, if you're going to create this hatch pattern, you want to do the cross first, and then you want to do the vertical one afterwards. So, but that's really clean there on that cross
What
one.
did it do on the backside?
So I'm going to do over on this other machine.
What's it do on the backside? Did it do the same look?
I did. This one over here, I got some tear out right here on this one. I don't know why. But this one I didn't get any tear out whatsoever.
Interesting. All right,
All right.
over here.
I'm going to get a different piece of wood. I think I'll get a piece of hardwood. We'll see how that does. Yeah, I've got some oak here. Let's try this oak and see how that fares.
And this one, okay.
Here's that one. That's on oak. I'll do oak on the other one now. Now this is one time where it probably would be a little better to sneak up on it. So I think I'm going to do that on this one. I'm going to do the cross on the oak, and I'll sneak up on it on the depth.
Does that mean slow it down?
So I'm going to raise that up a little bit. Do my first pass right there. All right. And now we'll do that is really clean for crosscut.
Very nice.
All right, so that's everything I planned on covering this time on this live episode. Just do one more check, see if there's any other questions or comments. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.